Welcome back to the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats Comics Symposium. We are back after a short break. We have returned from that break, strong and powerful and ready to dig in deep to all the comics goodness. We have an amazing set of guests. We have Brenda Hickey and Troy Little, the married team of comic book masterminds with their new Kickstarter out, Butterfly House, the experimental novella. What's up, y'all?
What's up?
Going good here. How you doing?
Pretty good. Good to see you. Of course, my phone rang. Exactly. And yes, that is the Mollusk by Ween as my ringtone. Shout out Ween, as always. All right. So let's start, as we always do, with our special plugs. And since we have a new guest host joining us this week, Adam Lemnah, let's start with you, my friend. What is going on?
Thanks. Well, I've got my book Relic Hunter, and that's the I guess compilation of all the strips that I've been doing for Next Panel Press. It's going to be, I started an Etsy page for it, which is crazy and weird, and I'm still trying to figure out. And I'm going to be hanging out with you next weekend, free comic book day. And yeah, I don't know, $5. Follow my Instagram at Adam Lemnah, and I'll be announcing more stuff soon.
Hell yeah. All right, sweet. Thanks, dude. Next up, we've got the myth, the man, the legend. That is Craig CK. What up, Craig?
Hey, what's going on?
What's
Same old for me. I'm working on Ghost Agents, Rocco Jerome's Ghost Agents. Right now, that strip's appearing on Next Panel Press that Rick so kindly posts for us every week on Instagram. Lots of tattoos right now. Super busy that way. But yeah, it's nice to be back. It's been a little bit of a time for me. I was out before we kind of took a hiatus there. So it's good to be here and good to be here with Troy and Brenda, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. All right, next up is the Cosmic Cat himself, Rick Lopez. What up, dude?
Hey guys, Rick Lopez back again. So first things first, I do a strip called Cosmic Cat. We put new ones out. We put new strips out every weekend. I put mine out every other weekend. This is Cosmic Cat. This mini comic was collects like the first 17 strips. I just put out the 31st one. While I'm doing that, I work on my series, The Power. I have the first 2 issues still available on my Big Cartel Doom Days. And then this is the cover for the 3rd issue. It's about a boy creating a comic only to discover a realm beyond space and time within his own mind. So it kind of like that ethereal plane we all go to in our heads while we're working on our own books. This is inking from issue 3. And then here's a pencil splash coming up in issue 3 as well. So to kind of give you an idea. But make sure to follow Next Panel Press on Facebook and Instagram. We got over a dozen artists on there, and there's tons of free comics for you to read.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Rick. I will go ahead and plug a little myself. I've been working as well, publishing Ghost Agents, making a ton of pins over the last couple of days for our Kickstarter stuff. We have had some printing issues, as it feels like everyone has. I had to send the book back twice due to printing errors and trim issues and all this stuff, but the new one's on its way right now. And also Wizard, the second issue of the Comics magazine, 420 pages of comics, beauty, and exaltation of the work of art that is comics and the kayfabe community. Shout out to all them. And that is also coming in ASAP as possible. So if you haven't got it yet, check out cosmiclionproductions.com where you can find that as well as everything. And I'd like to send a shout out to 2 people who are veterans of the show, Jonathan Thompson and Jeff Manley, who have a new book, Airplane Mechanics, who is on Kickstarter right now. It's a super killer book. It's got Jeff's inimitable style, and I think you all will dig that too. So check that out on the place where you start kicking, Kickstarter. All right, sweet.
There's a couple of guys that got stuff going on right now, right? Like Chris Anderson,
A lot of
got
dudes.
some stuff floating. Like,
I think his is about to start. I'm not sure it's going yet.
yeah.
And Ghost Agents issue 3 is going to start very soon as well. It should have already started if we didn't have these printing issues.
Ryan Tavares with Nomads. There's a bunch happening, man. People need to check out the group, scroll through, because there's a ton of guys making good shit. So
that's what's so beautiful about the kayfabe group, man. Everyone is making something.
Our homies here, Kevin Delgado, he just had a successful Kickstarter, and
that's right too. Just went to print, didn't you?
Yeah. Where is he?
Hell yeah.
He's floating.
Shout out Kevin. Shout out Dr. Ben, who also just went to print. Jerome was like at a con all day. Aaron Lee is constantly putting shit out. Everyone here is a beast. The beast with a billion backs. We are. Shout out Futurama. All right. So let's get to it now. Let's head over to Craig for the intro for the Pegamoose Press peeps. And then we'll get to all the questions.
Yeah. So I know you guys have each been here before. Thank you so much for coming again. I remember mentioning that when you guys are ready to drop your new book, that we would have you back, and I'm excited you're here. You guys have it's Butterfly House that's out, but everyone should check out their Patreon. I'm very particular about who I send money to monthly, but they are in my list. I think I have maybe 8 or 9. They're on my list. They never fail. Yeah, I can't say enough about you guys. Let's talk about Butterfly House. And hopefully I can circle back around, Troy, because you know how much I'm in love with the illusion of life. So, yeah. So let's talk about Butterfly House. Give us the pitch, man.
Well, thank you for being a Pegamoose pal.
Yeah, thank you so much for sticking around with us and all our shenanigans. So we really appreciate it. Yeah, so Butterfly House is our current Kickstarter running. We launched it April 19th and it'll be running till May 19th. And it's our first collaboration book. We've been making comics for, professionally, at least for the last 10 years. And we thought, we've done one Kickstarter for Halls of the Turnip King, which is my book. Second Kickstarter for Angora Napkin, the Golden MacGuffin for Troy's book. So we're like, the next logical step is to do a combo book, like an EP between our albums sort of thing, a bit of an experimental thing. Collaboration project. And so the idea we came up with was Butterfly House.
We never really, we always kind of wondered, because we both write and draw. So what would be, or how would we equally kind of share in a 50-50 creative endeavor? Like we needed an idea that would kind of work for that. And I don't know, we would just kind of talk while we were traveling, driving or flying or somewhere. We just pitch ideas back and forth until we got an idea for like a haunted house story that could kind of work into 2 different timelines. And that way we could kind of separate the book into 2 pieces, one timeline that I would draw and one timeline that Brenda would draw.
Yeah, so we would, when we got to a point in our discussions and chats about the storyline, we were like, okay, we feel like we got some solid things, some solid story points. So our next thing to do was to get a bottle of wine and some little note cards and put our little plot points in and decide what would work best in the past timeline and what would work best in the present timeline. And once that was smoothed out, we arranged all our cards in an order that felt like a really good, solid story. We decided, well, who's going to get what? And so Troy took the past, the surrealistic kind of backstory of the house, and I took the present day, which is more like, your traditional haunted house story where the girl goes in the house and kind of sees the ghosts of what was once there, sort of thing. So
yeah, it was an interesting way of writing, because we've always worked from scripts before. Either if we're working on a licensed book, you get a script. Even if we're working on our own things, we'll work with a loose script. So this time taking just like little note cards, just maybe like a line, we'd write down something like page 1 would be, goes into house, or page 2 would be bumps into this person or something, and just rearranging things, taking them out, moving them around and keeping it really, really loose, and just kind of feeling it out. And then from there, we took our pile of cards and we wrote just a very loose script outline for that. So we kind of have a bit of a guide to work with.
Yeah.
So very organic.
Yeah, very intuitive, very organic process, which was a lovely relief for like a change up from, yeah, just doing the rigid scripts like we said we were working on with the licensed stuff. And then when it came to art style too, we did want to kind of break out of those, you know, a rigid way of doing that too, because license work, you always have to be so particular about style. So we wanted to really switch it up and utilize different tools that we wouldn't normally get to play with because we'd be on such strict timelines and stuff.
And I think both of us suffer a little bit from being on model. So when we work on something like if it's a Gretzko or My Little Pony or Rick and Morty, you always kind of a little bit in the back of your mind anyways want to project, you know, what the audience you think expects. So they're expecting to see Rick and Morty, it better kind of look like Rick and Morty to some degree. Even if I know that there's leeway to kind of play with that. In this case, we wanted to make sure we were kind of like getting out of our comfort zone a little bit. So we decided to work with some different tools,
different paper.
The whole thing was drawn on watercolor paper using like different kind of nibs and ink washes and stuff to try and imitate like a watercolor kind of thing. Yeah,
I put the portfolio away too soon, but I'll go grab it and we can flip through the portfolio pages. Yeah, I'll be right back.
So was it like split? Like, did you guys split it down the middle? Like, is like half drawn by you? Like,
yeah.
Is it all like perfect like that? Like the first half will be Brenda's and then the second half will be you, or is it just kind of like all intermittent all the way throughout?
Yeah, except the odd thing about our book is it's a flip book. So the book actually flips the other way and there's no real start side to it. So you can pick whichever side you want to read first. It's not linear in that way.
Yeah. So these pages are big.
Yeah.
We can kind of get the idea. We put the print of the cover here and then Troy's pages. And you would read Troy's pages to about the middle here. And these aren't like the real middle pages. We couldn't fit all the pages in. But then, yeah, you see how the two timelines collide in the middle, but one side's upside down. So you would just close it over, flip it over, and then you would get the other side of the story.
It's so fun. So I was just speaking about making a flip book with my buddy Rick here. Oddly enough, that looks so wild. I'm super excited for that. It looks beautiful too.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really excited too, because I mean, the end product is really going to showcase that feature of it. So for us, it's going to be super exciting to see it actually like, oh wow, all our planning actually worked out.
And
it's
gonna be
sorry, go ahead.
You can choose whichever side you want to read first. It won't really matter, but the other side of the story will kind of flesh out what you didn't get the first time around. So it's going to kind of require like, going back and looking at what you read before. Yeah. Until it meets in the middle. There's a big kind of crossover page that we illustrated. So that's cool. And there's also spots too, because of the haunted house nature of it, where we would leave blank panels or blank spots in the background where we would draw on each other's pages.
Where the timelines would bleed over and kind
That's
of
cool.
like, ghost.
Yeah, so very subtle, but I'll have something happen and the background all of a sudden changes into modern times or something, and Brenda would draw that.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty wild, man. That's gonna be a lot of fun. By chance, you gonna be selling some of those pages at TCAF?
We'll bring the books. I don't know.
We'll be selling books.
Yeah. I don't know if we're ready to part with pages yet, but
yeah,
keep me in mind when you're ready.
For us, so it's going to be hard to like let go of those. I mean, I'm pretty happy how they turned out, but it's like, how do you part with that now?
Yeah.
It looks from what I've seen, from what you've shown, and what I've seen on the Kickstarter and stuff, and on Begamoose and whatnot, it really looks really nice. I'm super excited. This sounds really cool.
Yeah, you can kind of see a little video Brenda shot on the Kickstarter of kind of how the book page flips and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Who's next? Eli, you up?
Yeah, I'll take the next cue. I'm really interested in, and I know it's like, hold on. I know it's kind of like cliche to say like, how do you balance work and family type stuff? But like, I'm just interested because just today I had my own experience with my partner. He was like, you gotta spend less time, or you got to give yourself this like time to relax and like chill. And like while she's telling me that, here I am like typing a thing. I'm just I'll finish this working, and then we can talk. But it's like, so how do you guys, as two parts of this family, I know you have kids and stuff, but as the parents and two parts of this family, how do you guys balance that all out? How do you find time to work together? How do you find time to chill and not work together? And how does that balance work? And is Troy like, we got to take the time, and then sometimes Brenda's like, no, now we got to, does it go back and forth as like, who's the one being like, it's time to break, like how do you guys get that balance going, because you're both actively making work so much?
Yeah, doing comics full time is usually a one person job in a family, right?
Exactly.
Crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we started the Kickstarter for Butterfly House, I was doing Agretzko Comics, that Netflix original show. They have comics for that coming out through Oni Press, and my deadlines were crazy. So poor Troy had to take care of like making suppers and making sure the kids did their homework and getting them to bed and everything. So unfortunately, I put a lot on him because my deadlines got to be too tight. Right. But and then you're going to be taking on more license work.
I think we found that doing full-time comics, only one person can do this at a time. Yeah. And the other one usually needs to kind of hold down the fort somewhat. And the way we've balanced it, at least over the pandemic, is Brenda's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting with Agretzko. She's been writing it, drawing it, coloring it, doing all these aspects, which is just taking up all the time. Yeah. Right. This is why my deadlines got crazy. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, do everything else as much as I can, and where there's time available, poke away at my own personal work that it's not paying me anyway, so I can do that. And I started work on the Illusion of Life graphic novel, which I've been serializing on our Patreon right now. Yeah, but that's a good way that we're both working, but you're not under such tight time restraints. So it's like you can work when you have the time, but if you do need to set it down for a little bit because somebody gets sick or something, or you need to cook supper, then you don't have that editor expecting it at a certain day, so so it's been good that if we have a personal project, at least like, for instance, Troy wouldn't be going crazy being like, I'm not producing anything, like it's been weeks and I haven't sat down at the table, because we get like that too. We just get really antsy if we're just sitting there idle. We're not good at being idle. No.
So do you find yourself even when you're sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just say so Brenda has been pulling down some crazy hours and for months on end. So it's kind of like, it's time to tag out and let me take over the paying gigs for a while. And you get to sit back, and I say sit back. Yeah, well, it's a lot of work. Right. And when Ken, start working on your own projects, because she's got ideas lined up too, that are her own personal works. Yeah. Nice.
So it's truly like taking the relationship give and take to a whole new level where you're both creating so much stuff. Do you find it hard to turn it off ever? Is there a time where you guys go out for dinner and you're like, it's our date night, but you're still talking comics because that's what you love? Or are you like, no comics this dinner or something?
Yeah. We're bad. We
have no off switch for comics, basically. Right.
Except when I got really into, after I finished Agretzko in February, I was all like, I want to get in the kitchen and bake, because I like to bake as a hobby. And I'm telling Troy all these things. Did you know the science of the baking this certain roll cake? This is why you do it this way, and this is the science behind it. He's like, why would I care about the science of this roulade cake? And I was all like, oh, it's fascinating.
That could be a good comic. I read a comic one time just about knives, how to use a knife, how to sharpen a knife, different types of knives. You never know what could be interesting as a comic.
Comics can be anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. How to make a cake. It's I'm excited because I'm just learning it. So, and it's delicious. Different. Yeah, it's delicious. It's compared to comics, it's instant gratification, because even if it takes 2 days to bake a thing, it's that's still so much faster than finishing a comic book. Oh, yes. So, instant gratification.
And I have one more question that goes along with this kind of personal side of things. How did you guys meet? Was it comics that did it, that brought you guys together? You're at a con, or how did you guys meet?
I worked at an animation studio here in PEI, and so before that, but anyways, Brenda ended up working there. She was out of college, and she got working as a background artist, and I was the head of background department, so ostensibly her boss.
Last time ever. I'm just kidding.
It was a pretty laid back animation studio. Pretty much everyone in that studio hooked up with somebody else in that studio and got married. So
and have kids and stuff.
Yeah,
So
it was a big love fest.
It was like finally all the artists who liked cartoons and comics got together in one place and got to meet each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So that's perfect.
Yeah, we connected on the comics thing for sure. Cause yeah, there's a couple other people that were interested in comics, but not quite like we just had a similar view on life and our work and where we wanted to go with it.
She was very much into the manga and stuff. And, you know,
I thought because my experience was always if you like manga, people that like comics are just like, you're not a comics person. But Troy actually didn't berate me for it. And I was like, oh, that was my first thing. He didn't berate me for liking it. So yeah, that was good. I felt like instantly comfortable that it's like he's not gonna like put my likes down. So that kind of put a lot of my insecurities to the back burner, and we were able to like connect.
And I was literally sick as a dog one night working late at the studio, and I was putting together zines, like preview zines for Angora Napkins, Harvest of Revenge, that I was going to take to SPX. And I was so sick. And Brenda stuck around to help me like staple the zines together and stuff. I'm kind of like, oh.
That's true love.
That's awesome. That's great. You know, it's finding out that you met like that. It's like, I mean, that's even better than like finding like, you know, there's all these different like dating sites now. There's like, you know, jam band dating or like weed dating. And so you're like, you're closing down the obstacles between finding this person that like loves the same thing you do. And so even more perfect, like the target market for your like finding love is like exactly being in that. That's so cool. I need to find the Ninja Turtle Star Trek fan club. No, I'm set here. Maybe if I found that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much, and more to come. So let's go over to our guest host, Adam Lemnah. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, really nice to meet you. I know I'm the new guy here, and it's really exciting to get to talk to you guys. One of the things that kind of like when you were describing working on the book that sort of like hit for me was like you were talking about the tools, the materials that you guys were using on this, that you wanted to work outside your comfort zone. I want to know more about. I'm a total process junkie. I want to know how you figured out that watercolor paper. Like, did you try different watercolor papers? Was it like, no, this is the brand that I like to use, like just for working on my own sort of art? Or was it a process even finding that? And then of course, like when you were working, what was your process as well? Like, how do you guys break up your day? You know?
Well, do you want to go first?
Well, you came up with a lot of the watercolor material stuff because Troy did his part of it a year before I did because of all my deadlines. So you were already testing papers and ink washes and stuff. And I was kind of dabbling because I had just got my iPad. I was dabbling, thinking of doing it digitally until I was just sad at the idea of not having a page to hold at the end. So I better just stick to traditional because I'd be too sad at just being stuck on my tablet and I can't like flip through the pages with my hands, you know?
Know how you feel. Yes, exactly.
We've both adapted to working, I think, our pencils digitally. We use Procreate. But the big fun I find is like that tangibility of finishing, putting that ink on the page, you know, and actually having, I just can't do that digital. It just doesn't look or feel the same. And then I have nothing to show for it, you know?
Yeah,
it's like more organic that way. You just feel there's something of yourself that goes into it when you can't hold it down and make a totally straight line, you know, when it's just the movement of your arm or something.
You know, those imperfections that make it beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Digital is too perfect and it doesn't feel the same, like a human made this the same way. I mean, some people are really good at imitating it and I can't knock that, but I'm not that person. I would make it look too perfect and I'd feel like it was a little cold because of it. So,
yeah, so I mean, usually we work like on most of our stuff because we're doing like clean line art that's going to be colored by somebody else or something. It's just a heavy bristle board type paper we use called Cougar, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. Very cool.
Depending, like, you know, I find it takes ink well. So if we're using uni pins or microns or whatever, or even if we're using like just a brush and ink kind of thing, like I like Raphael's and stuff like that, you get I mean, I guess my background is in animation, so I'm used to doing a very clean line. And I kind of wanted to break out of that a little bit in my head. And that's part of also with my Illusion of Life book that I'm working on, was also I want to do something a little bit less precise, a little bit looser, a little bit more energy, and try to find a way to do that. And so with Butterfly House, I had a friend of mine, he sent me a dip pen. It was a Radiograph 109 or something like this. It was a pen that Charles Schultz used for Snoopy, you know, and Charlie Brown. So I'm like, I want to ink a comic with the pen that Charles Schultz uses and see what that's like. And it was great. It just had a nice tip to it. And when I'm scratching it over the watercolor paper, it just felt nice. Like it kind of like just get this nice scratchy effect to it.
Yeah, because it's like pebbled paper. It's really nice. Yeah, it has a texture.
And my watercolor things. Brush things.
This is the kind of pen I use. Show that.
Oh yeah. So then to give myself like a shortcut for the ink washes, I got 2 water pens, and I filled one with water and I filled one with like this gray ink.
This is more for Illusion of Life, though. I think you just diluted India ink for Butterfly House.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah, because this developed this for Illusion of Life, because you're like, I want to do this quick if I'm at the coffee shop or if I'm traveling.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I just have like tissue paper, and I'll just blah 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 with 2 markers and tissue, mopping it up, and you get some really neat effects with it, and
absolutely
kind of muck around with it a lot.
Yeah, and then if you digitally paint it over words, you have those textures, so it looks organic, even though it's digital colors.
With the scan, but that's fantastic. Beautiful.
It's a bit of a shortcut, I guess, to try and get a painterly effect.
Yeah, but that's really cool, though. I mean, like, it makes it versatile, especially, I mean, you guys have kids. I understand what that's like, you know? It's like just finding the time to draw during the day with kids.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during the pandemic. That was crazy. How did you guys, like, you know, like, what's the sort of schedule during the pandemic that you guys had? What was that sort of, because were the kids at home for school?
For the first bit they were. When it first hit, it was the March break that never ended, we called it. And then the next school year, when it started up in September, they had actually a full year, because PEI dodged the pandemic pretty well until the Omicron hit. Then we were like the top in the country for cases, and we're like, well, nothing good ever lasts. So, so they had a pretty good 2021 that they were in school. Yeah.
I mean, it can get really frustrating when this is your house and studio that you live and work here 24/7. There's no real escape. So before the pandemic, we would go out to the coffee shop to work a lot.
Yes.
So pretty much everything we had, we made sure was portable. If I'm drawing comics, I try to do in comic pages that I can fit in my backpack, and I have all my tools in a pencil case, you know, so I'm very portable with it and not tied to the desk, because you just get sick of looking at the same walls 24/7. And then the pandemic hit and you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
So you can get pretty stir crazy. There's some of that.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to remember, because we were kind of on autopilot, I think, for a lot of the pandemic. But I know I had a lot of Agretzko to do, so you probably took the bulk of the.
Yeah, you had your head down and just kind of close the door, put your headphones on, and get the work done, hit the deadlines, you know. Yeah,
exactly.
And I just did my best to like not lose my marble.
Yeah, it was fine for the first bit. I think as 2021 wore on and we got into 2022, you were ready to, you were getting quite squirrely. You're like, I can't keep doing this. My days are driving me nuts.
Yeah. At some point, if you're not being productive, you just don't function well. You know, it's not so much like it's a need, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah. So it's good to be working again. And now, it just feels better.
But for my Butterfly House process, I think I dabbled with drawing digitally, but I didn't like it, and then I did some test pages. I tried the nib that you were working on.
I didn't like that.
I didn't like it because I just smudge too much, and that stresses me out, and I find it gets me out of the zone if I'm just constantly seeing smudge marks everywhere. And then I tried a brush, but I felt like I wanted it to look scratchier. And then in the end, I stuck with this pen here. It's a nib pen, but it's like a cartridge pen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives you a nice, really thin uniform line. And I would just kind of scratch that in and build it up. And that was great because it dried really fast and it took the ink washes without smudging or anything. Like this pen's really good, and the ink that comes with it, even with Copic markers, it won't smudge, which I find is a hard thing to find. Yeah. So I've kind of fallen in love with this kind of pen, the fountain pen.
Oh yeah, here. It's got a great feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't choke. You know, the ink doesn't choke like some fountain pens do.
Mm-hmm. It just doesn't travel well. It doesn't do air travel well. So if you have one and you bring it with you on an airplane, just watch it because it might spurt a bit. So you get it all over your fingers. Yeah. But other than that, that's really the only real issue.
The ink on the fingers.
Yeah. So just that's really the only thing I have with it is that it doesn't travel well. But once it's past all that, then and you clean it up, that first spurt, then it's like, okay, now you're normal again. Just beware that first time using it after.
Yeah, I think that goes with most fountain pens. Like just the air pressures push the ink out. So
probably. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess I'll pass it along back to Eli real quick.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man.
I want to take us to the gallery view here for a moment. We're going to head back over to Craig CK for some more cues. Craig,
I was just
Pegamoose Pal.
I was adding some sugar to my Tim Hortons because they forgot, and I missed it. Did you? What kind of paper were you saying? What kind of watercolor paper were you saying you were using?
You got it over there, right? Some packs, the yellow down there, right?
There's two different kinds. So this Canson stuff.
Oh
the Illusion of Life.
Oh, nice.
It's got a good tooth to it.
And what's the yellow pack? That's not Strathmore, is it? No.
Strathmore.
It is Strathmore.
This is what we did the butterfly house on this.
Yeah. Nice. Did you mess around with arches at all?
No, I didn't. That's basically I found this got the effect I wanted, and so I stopped trying. Okay, this does what I want.
Because that arches stuff is so expensive. I was wondering if that's what the pages were down on. Like that shit's like uber expensive, especially up here for us.
Affordability and portability is a big thing. Like for the Illusion of Life, that fits in my backpack.
Yeah, that's a smaller size because the butterfly house is 11 by 15 and this is 9 by 12.
Yeah.
I've told the guys, like, I've got a bunch of those, and I've told the guys, like, I keep wanting to try it with because like we tattoo, or I tattoo, and you can buy pre-made washes, like a light, medium, dark, whatever. And I'm gonna try to mess with that a little bit to get that of just using those like straight up inks as is. And I was wondering what you had the best success on, because like when we watercolor paint for tattooing for like flash pages and stuff, it's usually on arches paper, and it can get costly. That's why I was wondering. But yeah, I have a ton of that Canson stuff here, so I'm gonna crack that out and give it a try eventually once I'm done my little project that I'm on. But yeah, very cool.
Ink well, it holds the ink well and doesn't bleed. So I mean, that's just what I was looking for. And affordability is a big part of that. You can get a pack of it for fairly cheap. So it takes a lot of pages to make a comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't only spend so much money on this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what piqued my interest, because like a package of like a block of that arches stuff is like over $100.
Yeah,
so I'd be like, I was like, Jesus, if that's what they're using, man, might as well paint on money at that point. Christ.
Yeah, we'd be asking a lot more in our Kickstarter if that was the case.
Yeah, no doubt. I wanted to a couple things. I wanted to ask Troy. You said you were thinking about, or you were going to go back into more licensed stuff.
Yeah.
Can you tip your hat at all? Are we going to see more Rick and Morty from you?
I got like a bunch of stuff I'm doing, and all of it is like NDA right now, and I want to talk about it. Really do.
I know there was. I saw the post, and you were talking to, I believe, Kevin Eastman, and like I had started my brain obviously started to go into overdrive, and so I was wondering like what it was and whatnot. But yeah, I was hoping to. So we'll be waiting.
Other stuff other than radically rearranged Ronin Reg dolls?
Well, I can tell you a bit about that one at least.
The one that you did before?
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I got to write a Ragdolls comic there with David Avalone, who as you know is with the Drawing Blood crew. So we did and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but the Ragdolls was like a one-off kind of side project with the Drawing Blood storyline, right? And it was a bit of a play on the original Ninja Turtles, as well as like every other origin story comic ever, but with 3 cats instead of turtles. So Kevin and David wrote that, and Kevin did all the layouts for it, and I did the polish over top of that, kind of put my pencils and inks on top of it. But it was a weird feel for me, because I'm like, oh man, I just want to see Kevin Eastman draw this comic. Why am I doing this, you know? And my forte is way more into the world of comic books, like cartoon comic books and cartoon animation. And I thought, and I pitched them the idea, hey, what about instead of doing an issue 2 of the Ragdolls, we do an issue of the Ragdolls Adventures, you know, like the Nickelodeon cartoon spin-off of those, of the gritty comic, you know, of the gritty indie comic.
Yeah.
And they thought that was a cool idea. So I wrote like basically a 40-page double-sized issue, and then gave it through to David, and he gave it a polish. And it's been drawn, it's been colored, lettered, it's done. It has been done for a long time. But when Last Ronin came around, it kind of derailed everything Drawing Bloods in that whole world. And now that that's wrapping up finally, Ragdolls might be making a comeback. So that 40-page comic that I did is supposed to see the light of day this summer sometime, like as part of the Kickstarter fulfillment for volume 2 of Drawing Blood. And hopefully after that, it might find like a mass market release.
Yeah, I want to see that so bad in comic form, because it's such a fun comic.
Yeah, it was way more me indulging in like, what would I do if I had these cats to draw, and the kind of stupid story I would tell.
Yeah, it's got such the feel of a Saturday morning cartoon. I'm like, it's so nostalgic.
I love comics, but I'm always like I love animated stuff, and I love how that looks on paper, and I really dig it. And yeah, so nothing else you can quote on, but you're excited for some more stuff that's coming along, like coming down the pipe.
I talked to Kevin too about more Ragdolls in the future, and he's very open to the idea. So I think it's like if I come up with an idea, I'm like, oh, I have a good idea, and pitched it to him, I think we'd be doing more Ragdolls. I'm gonna see those guys. I'm heading down to San Diego Comic-Con this year just to kind of float around. But I'm gonna have some hangouts with them, and I'm gonna make sure I got some ideas to run by them while I'm at it.
Nice.
So nothing concrete yet, but I think the potential is like 100% there if I want to take it.
Very cool. Yeah, and everyone that's not on your Patreon needs to, so they can get on board with the Illusion of Life. That's going to see print too, right? Like
eventually.
Like, yeah.
That got derailed big time. So now that I'm like having to pay the bills, like my side projects are all background projects.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's okay. It gives everyone something to be excited for too, though, right? Like,
I got a good chunk done. Like I got 106 pages done, and so I've got more coming up on the Patreon as soon as I get them back from the place that's doing the scanning for me.
Yeah.
And it's going to probably be about a 180-page book, and then I'm going to color it because I'm a fool that way. But it'll be a good chunky book, and it's very dense. If you've seen the pages, those watercolor pages I was showing you, I'm doing those kind of 2 up. So
yeah,
this is like the top of the page, and then a whole nother one's the bottom of the page. So they usually be about 11 panels long every page.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pencil mileage on every page for 180 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still in the camp of don't color it. So I know I told you that before.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, we got a good response from the Butterfly House when people saw the black and white.
Yeah.
So much so that like Brenda's like, we should just give them like a PDF as part of our Kickstarter.
Yeah, so they get that little process behind the scenes. So we'll give them a PDF download of the black and white pages, and then just to add some more goodies to it, put some concept art and just little write-ups of how we came up with the idea and developed it at the end of the PDF too. So
please do. Please do. And when you do come to TCAF, bring some pages, because it's like right around my birthday, homie. And I'll pick up some pages from you for sure, of anything. I don't care what it is, for both of you, please.
Okay.
We'll bring in our portfolio.
Yeah.
I'll make your trip worth it. Trust me.
Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, the Peg Moose Press, or the Peg Moose Pals, or our Patreon, has been a big help, honestly, of income. I mean, helping us getting our coffee fulfilled, which helps us fuel making comics.
And yeah, it paid for our table at TCAF, which was really nice. So thank you. Yeah.
So basically, we just feed it all back into what we do in comics. If it's
we're drinking coffee to fuel the madness, or get us a table.
It really is, because like I've been like on other Patreons and stuff, and it can be very spotty, and it's like then you feel guilty about like canceling it. You know what I mean? Like there's been a couple people where I've like, no man, like I'm not getting. You know what I mean? Like I have you guys, I got Ed and I got Jim, of course, and they're always like, you know, every week, always updating. And then there's a couple of kayfabe guys I have, like Chris Anderson. You guys might not know him, but he's always really good. I don't mind giving money to that, because it's like, if you don't have a monthly book, at least it shows some kind of support. You know what I mean? Like if there's not something coming out monthly, you know, at least, you know, you can help out. But yeah, that Patreon is definitely worth every penny for sure.
Cheap, like a $3 flat. That's your only option, is $3. Basically, buy us a coffee. It's enough to like keep showing up, and too cheap to throw away. You know.
Yeah, it's like buying a couple comic books, like, you know, in the late 80s. You know what I mean? Like that's the beauty of it. So it's good. But yeah, anyone out there, please jump on it. It's well worth it for sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, we try to update twice a week as best we can. On usually Tuesdays and Thursdays for Brenda, unless something comes up. But you know, we are juggling families and conventions and stuff now. Conventions now. She went to Calgary.
Yes.
So that was your first convention in 2 years.
Yeah. First.
How was it?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I was a little bit still wanting to ease into it, so I didn't fully advertise my commissions. Like if people asked personally, like, are you doing drawings? I'd say yes and take it. But I was happy to not do a ton of drawing and burn myself out the first time back. So I took maybe 3 drawings and focused but I met some good people, some people that'll be at TCAF, which is great. We'll see them again in June, and got to meet Jim Zub a little better, who has been collaborating with Troy on Rick and Morty for years. And his wife, Stacy, is also very awesome. She's very sweet. And just good to meet people again and just have that energy of
people making comics.
People making comics. And,
being with your people, right? Like that's a huge thing. You know what I mean? That's great.
So nice also not to be bogged down by drawing, so I could enjoy the social aspects that I've been missing out. Because
I've noticed on the Patreon you've been like having to hit deadlines and stuff, and you've seemed really, really busy and all that.
Yeah.
I guess okay, I'll stop hogging the time. I'll let someone else jump on.
All good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to Kevin Delgado, who's got his hand up here, and we'll see what's up. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, I just had a quick question, because like you're going back and forth through, you know, like your own properties and then other properties for, you know, publication and all that. And it's like, when you take time off to do your own thing, or you just want to take time off in general and everything, when you want to come back, you have to like repitch things. Are there people waiting for you? Like, how do you balance that? Like, do you have to kind of like knock on doors again? Are you reintroducing yourself, or is it just built on relationships that you already have?
Yeah, oftentimes people will come to us. Like, we're in a very fortunate position. We have to say no to a lot of things when we want time off. So when we're ready to work again, there's usually something that convinces us it's time to do the switch. So yeah, we're very fortunate that way, that we have the option to say no to a lot of things. So more often than not, when the time is right, the universe seems to provide. So far, so good. I mean, knock on wood. Hopefully it keeps up that way. But
I've got a 4-issue miniseries that's coming up, and so I can kind of block in like X number of months I'm going to be busy, so I have to say no to anything that comes my way. Or if something sounds really interesting, then I'm like, can we like work that in, you know, 6 months from now? Like, so the project I'm on now, I'd gotten a script for it like back in November, but I told them we're planning on running a Kickstarter. You know, I need to finish a book in March. We're running a Kickstarter. I won't be able to start this project till the end of March, 1st of April kind of thing. And I've just, like, I'm 12 pages into penciling it now. So they were good to kind of know, like, let's not announce this thing and let's just sit on it. Because I had things to do and they wanted me on it. So that worked out well for me.
Yeah.
And now going to San Diego for me is also a little bit of that networking where I'm gonna try to, like, get some more work lined up after that. If it's more work with Kevin and the Ragdolls, or who knows what might show up kind of thing. But put yourself out in a position where you have opportunities to drop in your lap.
Yeah.
Or chase down a few things. Like I chased down a few covers for a project I really wanted to work on, and I happen to know the editor. So, you know, you get some good luck here and there. And then once they find out you're looking for covers or little fill-in gigs or something like that, they're like, oh, I got this and this lined up if you're interested. So it's again a pretty organic process. There's not really one way of doing it, but we've been fortunate that we say more often we have to say no to projects than we do like hunt them down.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Cool. We've got another question from another star of Patreon, the zine master himself, Jerome Cabanatan. What up, Jerome?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to find the mute button. I haven't done this in a minute, but yeah. So first of all, I just want to say that I'm just when you're showing off your pages for your Kickstarter, it like that looked dope. I was gonna wait till like the end, but just you saying that it was the flip, and it's not just the flip that just, oh look, it's a flip. It actually meets in the middle, and you have to read it again. I think books that you have to read again are really, really cool. Like that was impressive. So that's happening this weekend. So congratulations, the commercial work. But yeah, I was gonna say, so like Troy, like I remember asking you some questions before and hearing about your story of just your, I don't know, you're really you're a networking genius. It just seems, and
I am.
Whether it's I don't know if it's a genius or a savant thing, and it just kind of falls in, and you just touched on it, saying like putting yourself in a position, like how you guys even met, like how you guys even met. That is some like kind of weird networking thing that I don't know how you guys manage that, but yeah, like Troy, like you talked about your story about how you got the Fear and Loathing job, and how you're working on the Paw Patrol, right? and how you hated it and all that. But I was wondering, Brenda, I missed you the last time, and but I wanted to ask, like, what kind of like weird, not comics jobs, like art jobs, or maybe not art jobs, but what kind of other jobs did you have that helped you with making comics? Like, Troy, I just gotta let you know, last time I was talking about animation, I said yes to an animation thing that I didn't really know how to do. I said yes, I did it. I actually didn't really like doing it, but I did feel like I got better. So thanks.
Right. Okay. Good, man. You went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said yes.
Yeah.
That's what you said. You said say yes. So I said I say yes.
Yeah, for me, I was right out of college when I got the job at Trapeze Animation, so my whole trajectory happened really fast. Yeah, well, that'll come up. Yeah, I mean, it's comics related, but my first published comic job was kind of unconventional. It was this thing called K Living with It, and it was like a comic that Bayer Pharmaceutical put out. So it was for kids with hemophilia that would come out twice a year.
Wow.
And yeah, it was written by a guy in Montreal, and the stories were always something like he wanted to rebel against his overprotective parents. So he'd always do something super dangerous. So I was like, what's with this kid that's always wanting to, like, you know, get tattoos or join the basketball team, but he's got hemophilia? Like, it doesn't really make sense. So I did, I think, 7 or 8 issues of that when then Pony showed up. But yeah, I think One of the jobs that I had.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Oh,
you just said Pony just showed up. Like
Ponies just
so
showed up.
Like that's what I want to know. How did you magically get all that stuff?
Yeah, well, I was working before I got the ponies job. The job I had before that was at this graphic design company, and it was not a very good graphic design company. Like the guy that ran it, he was shady, and they hired me on subsidy with the promise they'd teach me a little bit more about how they ran the graphic design thing. But really they were just kind of using the subsidy to get free money from the government, and then they would like hire me full time, but like send me home halfway through the day and not pay me a full day's wage, like just really shady stuff. And so because that was such a bad experience and I felt very disrespected at that job, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make my own, like if I can make comics, that's what I want to do. So Troy, you were on Paw Patrol and you were kind of feeling this, well, not, I mean, Paw Patrol wasn't shady, but like my graphic design job, but it wasn't something you enjoyed.
Hated it.
So, so we just got together. I think we were probably at Starbucks or something and just like saying like, how do we make comics a full-time gig? How do we make comics pay the rent? Because this graphic design job was terrible and it just discourages me from ever trying to go to a job in graphic design again. And you just, yeah, it's been said enough times you hated Paw Patrol. So you're like, well, I've got an in with IDW because of Chiaroscuro and Angora Knapp, and they published my 2 creator-owned books. So I wonder, I mean, you're like, well, they do lots of Transformer comics, and I don't know if that's really for us, like in our style and our sensibilities. But we can always just see what they've got. And I was like, yeah, because I'm hearing about this My Little Pony show, and I think they're starting to get comics. So I could pitch for that, and we can see what you can get. And I think you tried to pitch
Well, I just
creator-owned
basically
stuff, and they were like, yeah, we're not looking for that, but we just got the license rights for all these Cartoon Network shows. What about Powerpuff Girls? And so you were like, yes, Powerpuff Girls. And by the way, can my wife pitch for My Little Pony? She's interested in that. She does comics too. And the editor was like, yeah, sure, she can do that.
she'd written, illustrated, colored like a 12-page pitch just for fun, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was 12 pages. I might have
7.
gotten 5 pages,
Okay.
but then a bunch of character sheets and stuff, and a
Yeah.
big resume of everything I've done so far. And
But yeah, on the strength of her pages alone, you know, like they're like, oh yeah, totally, she can do this, you know, and that kind of started your relationship with IDW and years with My Little Pony.
Yeah. So the pony's just showing up. I guess that's that's the explanation for how they came.
Oh, that's great, and that sounds cool because that was almost like a teamwork thing too, right?
Yeah.
It seems like you guys put each other on, and and I think that's like I would assume that's something that's really, really important in the game, is like when you're in, you put your guys on, right? So like Rick, if you get in, you're putting me on. Like that's like that's the deal, right? But I'm just wondering, when you guys work together, when you guys work together, when you guys are like looking over each other's work, are you guys do you find yourselves like extra critical of each other, or are you like more of a cheerleader? Do you do things like the nice way or the mean way? I don't know. Like I wouldn't understand how that dynamic would work.
It's super easy.
Like it looks, whatever it's doing, you're doing it right because it looks good. But I just don't know what it is. I'm interested.
It's super easy because I'm a huge fan of what she does.
Yeah, and I'm in awe of how you put panels on the page and you put lines on the page. I'm like, I can't think like you do. So just watching how your brain solves these problems to tell these stories, it just baffles me. I mean, there's every now and then, like I'll help you with spelling errors or something, or if the thumb is on the wrong side, or if something's a little bit unclear, then we'll try to like talk it through and be like, you know,
if something's not working, you can kind of see right away, you know, like, oh, I'm not sure if this is working or that's not working or there's a tangent there. Yeah, my thumbs are on wrong.
Yeah, but you're not but like you guys don't go like art teacher on each other and
Oh God,
and
no, there's none of that at all. We're just
that's just
super
not
supportive of one another because I'm a huge fan of Brenda's art style. She can draw stuff. She's been drawing like since she was out of the womb, probably. Like she's got binders filled with comics and comics. She's drawn
The
more
inside
comics.
of my mom's womb has like cave paintings.
Yeah, little pictographs. So
now that's a page.
she's got
Now
so
that's
much
a page. Yeah.
pencil mileage that I can't even comprehend how much. So I'm in awe. Like I'm a little bit older than Brenda, but I'm like, if I was your age and I could draw that good, oh man, when I was your age, I couldn't draw half as good as you draw now. So I can only imagine where you're going to be, you know, when you're old like me.
No,
So,
no, you're fine. You're good. So no, your stuff's good. Like I don't know. I just always look at Troy stuff and like I say, I'm in awe of how you will translate the story into visuals and how you'll tell it. I'm like, oh, I would have never thought to do it that way or choose that angle or
It must have been all that Paw Patrol storyboarding or whatever you did there.
Yeah.
I think it's great you have someone who you respect that you work alongside every day and they just in some kind of way without even meaning to challenge you to just do your best, you know?
Yeah, I don't like because I get a little bit insecure sometimes because there's an age gap and I'm a lot younger. So I was like, I don't want to look like an amateur next to him. Like I want to look like a peer. So I'm always trying to kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm trying to bridge a gap or something, even though like Troy says, well, you know, there's nothing to worry about. I'm still like, well, still you've got 15 years on me of experience of life and all these things. And I just don't want to look like an amateur next to you, like the weak link of the relationship.
And she's absolutely not.
That's so awesome. You guys feel like that too. That's so awesome. Thank you. That makes it feel much more acceptable for us all, I think, to know that you guys feel like that too. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're lucky. We're super lucky. We gel in every possible way. We usually have the same thoughts about, you know, oh, were you thinking about going out to eat tonight? Because I was. Yeah.
What restaurant are you thinking
Same
about?
one I'm thinking of, you know, we're weirdly in sync. So
Yeah.
it's much as like she definitely does her own thing and I do my own thing in comics. It's like it's phenomenal, which is why we wanted to do Peg and Moose Press. We just thought we have something here that we could offer that is pretty unique, you know, a husband and wife team that both writes, draws, and does all that stuff and is interested in like indie publishing and you know, just having that kind of your fingers all over everything, your fingerprints on it all.
Yeah, because for us in comics, one of the things that gets us the most excited is seeing creators and individuals' voices and just thinking like one human made this book or like a small team of people with a similar vision made this book. And I don't know, that's just really, for me, more exciting than some of the bigger, you know, the DC Marvel comics, that sort of thing. Like I just get really jazzed at seeing something that you wouldn't see if this person just didn't make this thing, you know, like just this one person with their own spare time. And I don't know, it just gets me really excited, all the different voices out there in the comics medium and the potential of the comics medium, depending on the pen that the hand that the pen is in, I guess.
Yeah, it's very few artistic mediums in a lot of cases where you can get all those aspects of storytelling and visuals and design and, you know, and pacing. It's like cinema without needing $1 million budget, you know, or it's like animation without having to have a crew of people and just being a cog in that machine. You're actually the person steering the ship and building the boat.
Yeah, and people just, I don't know, the independent movement, the self-publishing movement is just making some of the most exciting things in comics right now. And
yes. And things like the social media and crowdfunding stuff makes it possible to put out some not only like great books that you wouldn't see otherwise from people who couldn't like get in the industry through Marvel or DC because they're doing something unique, but the products they're coming out with are beautifully produced. You know, people are getting into like just the accessibility of being able to do like what we're doing. We wanted to, so our idea with Peg and Moose Press, just to kind of tie that in, is we're going to spend 7, 8, whatever years making a comic book. The last thing we want to do is present it in a lesser format. So we wanted to put out like beautiful hardcover, high quality volumes of these books with like nice paper and good cover, something that, you know, you're going to be happy to have on your shelf. And, you know, just kind of represent your work tangibly and physically in a way that, you know, respects the amount of time and care you put into it. And, you know, some people kind of get that because we're book nerds and we just like the smell of a book, you know, and the library is just the best. So, you know, we've resisted going with digital formats or trade paperbacks and stuff like that, just because we want that. We just want a beautiful book on your shelf you're going to pull off and look at again and again, you know, or somebody's going to find in a secondhand store and enjoy, you know. Doesn't get lost in the ether of the internet on a PDF. So yeah, it's just one of those cool things. Like there's so many books we've gotten from indie creators, and it's all happened because of crowdfunding. And the quality is incredible. So just for book lovers like us, it's just keeps ruining our house with books. Improving our house with books, you know.
Just one more thing. Like you guys, it's just some beautiful nerd love that you guys are just pushing out there, and I think it's something that it would be nice for the world to like continue to have that kind of thing. Do you think like do you have any ideas of like kids comics or like children's books, like little like picture books? Is that something that's going to be coming out from Pegamoose Press anytime in the next yeah.
Yeah, the next idea I'm developing is more like a kids, well, not, it's more all ages, I'd say, because it's not like kids. It's, yeah, I think any age could enjoy it, but definitely more of a kids market. So I'll be developing that soon. I've even I've made posts of it on my Patreon already. The book doesn't have a name yet, of course, because I'm slow with that. Troy keeps telling me that book needs a name. I'm like, someday, I promise, once I start really thinking about it. And
so that just means you're just going to say this, and then Raina Talgemeyer is just going to call you guys tomorrow. And that just seems like how you guys work, right?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind friends with Raina Talgemeyer, but I don't know. She might have other ideas if she wants to be friends with me.
Are you nerd enough?
I don't know. I'll try.
Yeah, I mean, my project, The Illusion Life, is not a kid's book per se, and I still got probably, you know, if it's a background project, it could take me a couple of years still to finish this thing. So it's gonna be a little while before I get to my next one. And I have an idea for my next book too, which I will probably try and fit in more of an all ages category, because a lot of the stuff I've done is kind of, it's either hit an adult or a kind of a risque sort of thing with Gore Napkin, where it's definitely not for kids. It's not gratuitous, but it's also not for kids in a big way. So I think it would be nice to try and actually do something that was a little bit more for everyone without having to worry too much about, say, the audience, and that, you know, certain people are excluded in some way. A bit more of that like bone or amulet kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. That answered a lot and got me thinking a lot more. So thank you.
Thanks for your questions.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Jerome. All right, sweet. I think we don't have any other hands up, but if anybody wants to ask a question or say something, please raise your hand or chat me up. But I know Adam's got a couple more questions, so let's see what's up, Adam.
Well, the first thing that I wanted to ask was, for this new book, like before you sat down, before you guys were like drawing or writing or anything like that, what goes into the stew to make the story, to like turn you guys on and like get you in the right frame of mind? Are you watching movies? Are you listening to music? What's your flavor? Are you reading books? What's your approach there?
Yeah, Butterfly House happened super organically. I think we were just driving somewhere and we were talking about collaborating, and I was like, well, I always had this idea that like it would be really cool to explore an idea where somebody enters this old house and then they find little time capsules within the house, like, you know, under a floorboard, like little clues about who those people were that lived in that house at one point. And you were liking that idea, and then you brought your next idea to it, and like, what if it was a ghost story or a haunted house? Or And then it just got warped in all this kind of surrealistic, like time warp stuff, time loop stuff, memory, like
Memories, a big
memories,
thing.
and so it just kind of started layering and layering and layering the more we talked about it. So that one was a bit of a different approach.
I know, like it took a long time of just poking away at it. We'd talk out ideas, we might be write down some notes, or I just like wake up at 3 a.m. and I'd be like thinking about this idea and what if.
And then over a coffee, it's like, hey, I got this thing. I'm like, oh, I'm just waking up. So that one, that's kind of how that one started, was just, chatting little ideas. Like, I always thought this was cool. And you're like, oh, well, if we took that, but took it in this direction, until we kind of went back and forth. Illusion of Life. What made you?
The Illusion of Life.
Yeah. Do you remember what sparked that?
That was like 10 years ago. That's a project I've had written down for a long time. And it's a story about an animator, a young person who survives the bombing in World War II in England during the Blitz, loses his family, and ends up moving to America to kind of pursue his dream of being a comic book cartoonist for the newspapers. Ends up working in animation, and sort of his life happens. The Illusion of Life is a bit of a play on the word of the Illusion of Life by Frank and Ollie Thomas. They're the Disney animation guys. So The Illusion of Life is my title. And so it goes through kind of his career through 1950s, 60s, up into the 80s, where he's kind of an old jaded animator. No way I'd have any relation to this character anyway whatsoever.
Got to draw what you know.
Draw what you know, big time.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it was actually inspired by the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis.
Oh,
which seems like a weird pull from that, but
it's cool.
I read that book and I found it really interesting. The idea that basically there's subtle forces out there that are manipulating you in ways to kind of like throw you off a better path. And not in a religious sense, but just in the sense of like, you could be having a day and some little thing throws you off mentally and you're off your game for the rest of your day. And the idea that there like something actually, like a spirit or some force actually did that to you to kind of ruin your day.
And then eventually enough of that starts to kind of derail your life in little small ways, little small choices, little small.
Death of a thousand cuts kind of thing, So this guy's life starts going to crap over the decades. And so it started out a little bit of a parallel to that book. A number of years back, I took it I ran it past Chris Steros at Top Shelf, and he made some really good suggestions on it. And I took out an awful lot of kind of the C.S. Lewis material that I was kind of working with, and gave it another rewrite and completely redid the third act of the book. And it made it much stronger. But that was kind of the genesis of it. It's an evolutionary process. It's been through about 3 or 4 drafts before I finally, and 2 or 3 times I've started drawing it and then started over, umpteen pages into it. So finally, I think during the pandemic, it was time to sit down and do this book that's sitting around now or never kind of thing. And the time was right. And I think I was in the right space finally to do the book I wanted to do. And so I look back at all the notes that I had and all the script that I had and kind of use that as an organic template to begin building the story from again.
Yeah, I don't know what sparks ideas oftentimes. I feel like in the last little bit, I just think like, what's something that happened to me in my life and how can you kind of like analyze just a life moment or turn it into something bigger? Like, I don't know. Like my next story I'm doing is the all ages one I talked about that has no title. It's like, what's something in my life? Like, what would I have liked to have read growing up? And I loved like Disney and Sailor Moon and Card Captor and Harry Potter and stuff. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I could incorporate like little ingredients from all these things and make my own thing and maybe like do an analysis of like of the magical girl genre, which I loved so much, and using some of those different elements. But I'm like, a lot of people my age are doing magical girl stories, like you see them pop up more and more. So it's like, well, to make it unique, I had this character from childhood, kind of like Jeff Smith had Bone, right? He had the Bone characters from childhood. And I was like, it's a little animal, looks like a cat. She's purple. Her name's Ari. And I was like, she's always been kind of a larger than life character. So I was like, if I could take her, because she's got a big personality, use that magical girl analysis, but through the lens of like the little magical creature and what do they want? Because they oftentimes don't have a lot of agency. So it's like, it'd be really interesting to tell a story with, you know, that character being the central conflict in the story.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Yeah, because
that's a very cool sort of like, you're shifting the perspective and making it completely different. That's very cool.
Yeah. The human and her would be kind of like on equal grounds for being the main character. So yeah, but yeah, because a lot of people, making magical girl stories now who grew up in North America watching those shows, they just do the friend teams, you know, like let's get the girlfriend teams, which is, I love it. It's great. But I'm like, how do I just not be one of them and do my own thing? So yeah, I always like
it gives you the chance to sort of like look through the lens of a character that's less looked at anyway, and that usually serves more of a purpose as like a plot mechanism or a comic relief or something like that. So that's a very like, it just, the whole world sort of like looks differently through their eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. And what about their wants and needs outside this contract that they have to kind of basically just be the vessel to give this character this crazy power, you know, like what about this little guy's wants and needs? And yeah, my character Ari is very, she's going to learn, but she starts off very selfish. So yeah, she'd be causing lots of problems.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think this
sounds like it. Yeah.
Patreon before, right?
Yeah. I put some posts about it on Patreon with the hashtag Ari story, because Ari is the story about Ari. So it's the Ari story. So if anybody joins the Patreon and wants to check it out, there's like tiny little tidbits of that. But I think I'll you know, what I had before, I'd like to rework it and really show those themes clearly, because I feel like the first pass, like they're there, but maybe they're half baked. So I never like themes to be in your face, but at least if they feel like, oh yeah, I see it there without it having to be in your face, then that's kind of what I'm going for, the subtle but there. So
I mean, editing is part of the process. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And I think we found too, like my first book, Chiaroscuro and The Illusion of Life, and this book, we've done it over and over before we finally get your wheels like grabbing some traction, you know, like this isn't quite working. You don't really know why. And sometimes it just takes time until finally it clicks and you know, oh, I got something now and I can go ahead with it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Are you guys still doing animation stuff, or Troy, are you still doing animation as well as
No. You know, if I wanted to make money, I would. That's like storyboards pay like 3 times what I get paid in comics, you know. So
yeah, you definitely have to love comics if you want to make a career in comics, because you're not going to get that money side of it. But
how did you end up hooking up with IDW in the first place? What's the story behind that?
Like most of my life is complete fluke and accident and good luck. And I was self-publishing my first series called Chiaroscuro. I'd gotten a Zurich grant for that back in about 2000, I think, when they're still doing those. And I published, I think maybe, I did up to about 7 issues at the time, but by issue 2 or something like that, it was highly influenced by my reading Dave Sim's Cerebus series. So all cross-hatching, all, what does Dave use? 102? He uses S172 illustration board. That's what I have to use. And I've still got reams of it downstairs. But I was definitely learning from studying Cerebus, because I thought he is a phenomenal comic book storyteller. His visual storytelling in Cerebus is just, I studied it like incredibly close. So I had sent some copies off to Dave, and I'd sent some PDF copies of the book out to other publishers. And nobody had said anything. Nobody was paying any attention to me. No one was responding. And at the time, somebody was running a blog for Dave, and Dave gave a review for Chiaroscuro. And, you know, offhandedly, polite, complimentary. And it just so happens that the publisher at IDW, Ted Adams, is a huge Cerebus fan, reads Dave's blog and asked if he could see a copy of what I'd sent Dave. I had sent a copy to IDW. He said, I never got it. And I said, I will have them to you immediately. And I did that as quickly as possible. And he responded with, we'd be interested in publishing this as a hardcover collected volume if you're interested. And that was 2005. I had taken a break from Chiaroscuro because it was a lot of like heavy cross-hatching to do something like goofy and fun. And so I was working on this Angora napkin comic book that me and my buddy had made as a cartoon, or developed as a cartoon at the time. And so I was halfway through that project and I said, I've got another book. If you're interested, it's very different, you know, than Chiaroscuro. And he said, yeah, let's take a look at it. And then they offered again, yeah, we'd be happy to publish that as well. And that kind of just got the ball rolling with those guys. I developed a relationship working with Ted, and met some of the other people there. And, you know, finally, when the day came that I asked for some actual licensed work, I got lucky again. And that's when the Powerpuff Girls came up. So it's just been a string of like right place, right time.
And I grabbed onto your luck and be like, you're in to get these ponies.
Well, you know, you get it because you're good. And, you know, they wouldn't hire you if you weren't good. So.
Well, of course. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's always a certain amount of luck in these sort of things, but also a certain amount of talent that has to go into it, for sure. Absolutely. That's a great story, though. I mean, like that definitely resonates, because it's like, you know, you want to have it. I think all of us have sort of like hit that point sometimes where we're like, you know, I've sent out a million things. I want to do this. I know I can do this. But it's just not happening, and then it's just like one small thing. Very, very cool.
Yeah, you never know, you know, what random thing is going to come along your way. I never imagined I'd be working with Kevin Eastman, you know. But I was doing a signing at IDW's headquarters there for the Fear and Loathing Las Vegas launch, and they said, "Would you mind if Kevin Eastman signed with you? You know, if you did."
Would you mind?
Like,
yeah.
Would I? I'm just like Thompson sitting next to, you know, the guy whose comics I was drawing when I was 12.
Awesome.
And that meeting he's like, oh, I was on his radar all of a sudden. And he's like, hey, I have a project. Maybe you'd want to work with me on that, you know? So again, just.
Yeah, and you guys get along really well.
Yeah, we hit it off.
Yeah. I met him once at Oak City Comic Con in North Carolina. I was doing the show alone, but yeah, he was really nice. He's like, I went over to say hi, and he's like, oh, I saw you were at the show, and I know you're Troy's wife, so I wanted to say hi, but got busy. And I went to give him a handshake. He's like, oh, no, none of that, give me a hug. Like, he was just so nice.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
They say don't meet your idols, but man, in comics, everyone's pretty cool. You know, I've never had a bad experience with most people I've met, you know. So it's nothing big, but very positive. Every time we meet somebody, you know, I'd be really shy or something like that. But, you know, damn it, like when I go to San Diego this year, I'm going to talk to Sergio Aragones, because I'm always scared of the man. I know he's a gem of a human being.
Oh, man. Watching the shoot interview that the guys did on the channel was incredible, man. I could just listen to Sergio talk for hours, man. That accent, I'm telling you.
Oh, he's got so many stories, and he's just such a genuinely wonderful human being. Yeah.
That one was fun. That was a good interview.
Yeah.
I guess that sort of segues kind of nicely. What books do you guys like to read? Like, what's your flavor? You know, what are you guys reading right now? Do you get a chance to read? That's the other question.
Yeah, we're a little all over the map. Trying to think. When I was at Calgary show, I got Scott Chandler's book Bix. I got that. And read on the plane. I love the ones that are coming out. What is it? The Case of the Missing Men, and then the second book is The Tale of the Cursed Hermit. I think it's
Yeah.
the second. They're like weird Nancy Drew meets David Lynch books, and they're set in the Canadian Maritimes.
awesome.
Like they're just so good. They're so good.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. If you like weird mystery comics, that's, you know, with a lot of questions and not always a lot of answers, but just a really fun ride, and just the style of it's really like scratchy and
Really raw, kind of like
yeah,
yeah.
just gorgeous illustrations. I highly recommend those two. I've been really enjoying them. They're out by Conundrum Press.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot of books from Magnetic Press. They're putting out a lot of like really great European books they're translating. So I don't know, like Water Snakes by Tony
Sendilva. I don't know how to stress which part of that.
Phenomenal book. Like I really enjoyed that. I mean, we our origin stories with a lot of this stuff for me is like Cerebus and Bone and Strangers in Paradise. Blankets was a big one. I love Craig Thompson's work. So we've been reading Ginseng Roots, you know, when that comes out.
Oh, nice.
I've done a lot of manga, but then after a while it just left you wanting something new. I don't know, because I'm sure there's lots of great manga in Japan that just doesn't get translated over here, but the North American stuff kind of tends to be similar.
Sure.
So yeah, when I got into the indie stuff, of course, Faith Hicks, I read a lot of her, and of course we love Scott Pilgrim. And Persepolis was an early one that I read too that I still love. Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. And what other ones would be? Yeah, I know, it's like
Do you want to turn the camera? Show us what you got.
Yeah,
Keeping's awesome. Oh my god, my brain.
Yeah, my most recent one I liked was the Case of the Missing Men, and then the second book, The Cursed Hermit. I really enjoyed those ones.
Yeah, Dave Cooper. I've liked Dave Cooper and James Kochaka, and you know, a lot of the indie crew there, the old Top Shelf gang and stuff like that. I'm gonna forget so many. I think.
What's one I liked? There was Be Prepared was one. It was like a camping story, all ages.
Oh yeah, it was
that
fun.
Came out. What was that? First, second, maybe?
Yeah, I think First Second's putting in a lot of good stuff like that.
Yeah. So I like that one quite a bit. We're a little all over the map. We just kind of will find random things and be like, this looks cool. Let's just bring it home, and then we read it. And I love that one. Love this one.
Yeah. The weird thing for us, I think, when we hit a convention is when you get at a group of table of people, and you know, I don't know anything about Swamp Thing, or you know, I've never read it. So I get on the outs with a lot of stuff. I'm like, I read this really cool weird indie book called so and so.
Yeah. That's always a little awkward.
I try to follow along, but I haven't read a lot of superhero comics in a long time. They burned me in the 90s, and I haven't forgiven them.
I'm not going back to you, damn it.
That's right. Except the Max. If Sam Keith wants to put anything else out, I'll buy anything that guy draws. So.
That Batman Arkham Asylum book is pretty cool. Yeah.
I think he finally did get the last issue or so. I know it took like a year or two between it. So
the Batman adventure stories are fun too, because it's just like the cartoon, right? So you're just kind of like, that's about the only superhero shit I read anymore, because you know, I think you just get to a point where it's all kind of just recycled over and over and over again, and it's kind of hard to digest after a while.
I've been enjoying Jason Stevens' Dwellings, which he was running those on Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but
so good.
They're like hard comic horror stories. I love them. So fun.
I was sitting actually. I take this hike and I sit on this bench to read comics every now and then, and I was reading that book, and you know, it's about all the crows and how they start picking off people. And I swear to God, all these crows started coming around this booth, this bench, and I was sitting, and I started like freaking out, because I'm reading about these crows like starting to pick off these kids, and I'm like, no, it's me next. But so those books are good. I'm trying to flip through Wizard, because I'll give you a little hint that we do have Palmer's picks, and that is what Palmer hath picked in the old Wizard there. Those are good.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers only for y'all.
Were you high on that bench reading it, or what?
I usually am, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not. right.
High or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you get into the world, and sometimes the world gets into you, if you know what I mean. All right, let's head over to Dr. Ben. Speaking of drugs, just kidding, Ben. I love you.
Dr. Drugs.
Dr. Benway.
Dr. Ben, yeah.
Not a medical doctor, just a doctor of the soul, as we know. My question for you guys is like, being, you're both working cartoonists, working artists. Do you guys look at, I don't think there's like a lot of other examples, but like, I think of like Mike and Laura Aldred, they work together, or like Walt and Louis Simpson. Really, those are the only two that like come to mind offhand, you know what I'm saying? But like, is that, you know what I mean? Because I would have to assume that presents just different, I don't know if you'd say like challenges, but just, I'm saying different situations, or just different things. Like, I mean, you guys have talked about like how, you switch back and forth between like who's like doing like the big stuff and like who's like taking care of the headquarters, but do you Richard and Wendy Penny, I guess that'd be another one. But you know what I'm saying? Do you guys look at people like that? Is there stuff that they have put out, or you know what I'm saying? Like, are those people that you look at? I don't know, for like tips, tricks. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because we don't know anybody really personally that does it, that we could ask a lot of questions.
I think our isolation here, being on the Atlantic coast of Canada, keeps us from kind of feeling, in a lot of ways, a larger part of the community.
Yeah.
So we're winging it, basically.
Yeah.
I think I would say our one challenge that we have right now, while we have young family, is when a convention comes up, who goes?
Yeah. TCAP we can put together, because you've got a brother in Ontario who's got a big house and says, I'll be happy to take our little guy Nathan.
Yeah.
But it's like, how often do you want to ask for these favors? So he's offered the once, but do you want to, if we're ever in Ontario again, if Fan Expo is on, do we want to ask again? And it's like, I don't want to push my luck.
Yeah. So for a lot of shows, we'll tag team, unless they're, I want to say, local maritime or something we can drive to, or could bring the family with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a lot of cases right now, we have to decide one of us is going and one of us isn't. And then when we get those odd occasions where we get a really cool show and we just have to go together, like we were invited to Poland, and we're like, we have to do, I have to go there,
Yeah. It wouldn't be the same if it was just one of us. That's something you want to experience with somebody. So
so if there's a really cool event or something that comes up, I mean, we have to try to navigate how do we juggle a family and the time and stuff like that to make that stuff work.
Yeah,
that's our biggest challenge, I think.
Yeah. And luckily with that challenge, that every year the kids get older and older, so it's just going to become less and less the more time goes by. So at least it's not a permanent issue either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing, like you've laid out like plans, and like I said, your whole schedule with switching back and forth who's doing what. So I mean, like definitely kudos to you guys, because seems like it's working. So that's the key.
Oh, yeah. And Brenda wanted to do a Toronto expo, and I'm like, well, I've got issues I'm working on, deadlines. I probably shouldn't take the time off. So it would be wiser for her to go and sell our books than it would be for me to take the time off.
And you would have just have been coming back from San Diego. So it's like, how much do you want to go to Fan Expo Toronto, the big Canadian show, right after doing the big American show? Like, you'd be exhausted. So in that case too, it helps as well.
We keep our schedule pretty light right now. We don't want to pack it in. Like, so we see some people like Dan Parent, and Dan
I don't know how he
Parent
does that.
is at a show every day. Like, I don't know how he does it, but every day he's in Alaska, he's in Toronto, he's in Mexico, he's in what?
Yeah, he's in Calgary, he's in Cleveland, he's in where is he not?
Where is he not? Yeah. So it's cool, that if you could do that. I would get exhausted, I think, doing that, but rather keep it a little bit, to shows that we want to do, and if there's something that's really special, if it's a show overseas or something, we want to do that together so we can, you know, share that experience too. So
yeah, and we're kind of homebodies when we work. We'd rather just be home and do it. It's like, yeah, you could try to work on the road, but you're also excited because it's like, I'm in a new place, I want to explore. So yeah, doing less shows and staying home, and yeah, just doing the books too, which is where our passion really is.
yeah,
So make sure we don't book up our time so we can still make our books.
my dream is to someday, when the kids are grown up, like get out of PEI for 6 months in the winter and go somewhere nice and warm and draw my comics there. So I got 10 years to figure out how to be independently wealthy, making independent comics, so that we can just go to Spain for 6 months while it's cold here and avoid that. Then I'll have made it. So I got 10 years to make it.
That's Troy's bar of success.
There we go. My winter somewhere nice and warm and making comics. Cool.
You might have to settle for Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Thanks, Ben, for that
yeah.
question. We've got about 20 minutes left. Who else? Who else has got a queue? We got some amazing creators here. We got some peeps kicking in. I want to say what's up to Ian over in Japan, doing some great comic work with him right now.
Fellow Canadian, by the way.
We really
What'd you say, Troy? You guys want to go?
Locations we really want to go to.
Agreed.
And we'd have to go together on that one. There's no way one of us is going to go to a show and the other one's not going to be there.
If like you know the Beguiling, right?
Yeah.
So because of COVID, they haven't had it, but there was an annual international comics festival in Tokyo, and they got a grant from the Canadian government to basically fund most of it. So like the last time, Mariko Tamaki and Michael DeForge and Koyama Press and who did Through the Woods? Emily Carroll. So like it's not funded by Canada, but it's heavily subsidized. So if you really want to go to Tokyo and appear, talk to TCAF.
It used to be Chris Butcher who was running that event, and we had spoken to him. There had been times we were like, we're going, and then we're like, that's not going to work out, you know, and then it got derailed because that was on our radar to do that. I know you were talking to Jim Zub about that.
Yeah, Jim Zub was telling us his drunken stories in Tokyo. the one time he outdrank Chris Butcher. So, yeah, I got to hear all about the shenanigans of them going from bar to bar, and then Burger King, where the people are like, no, you can't stay. It was fun.
Sounds like a lot of
We'll
fun.
get there. We'll get there for sure.
I feel like that's a bucket list visit for a lot of people, just because it seems like another hub of like creating and comics. And you see these photos that Ed or Jim a food post of like the store that's all like tones and that's all different comics. And
oh yeah.
Yeah. You just
my location's actually like Atlantic Canada for Japan. Like I couldn't be much farther away from Tokyo if I tried, but you know, it's like a $150 flight down to Tokyo in an hour and a half. So
where are you at, Ian?
I'm in Sapporo, which is on Hokkaido, the North Island. So
I know the beer.
My wife is from here, and that's why I live here.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, the North Island would be a good place to visit, I think.
I don't think you can go wrong. I like I think a Japanese person going to Edmonton, Alberta has a good time. Like as long as it's a foreign country, it's pretty beautiful and new to see.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Make it out, please. I'll shake your hand.
Troy, I feel like last time you were talking about, because I was asking about Fear and Loathing, and you said that you had maybe been working on another book adaptation. Did that end up happening, or what happened with that?
Of Hunter Thompson, or
no, of like another, just another author.
I had two pitches out there that were potential pitches that both tanked on me. One was to adapt 1984, which is like one of my favorite novels. And I did like a 4-page pitch for that. and this was all through IDW. I think had just got Top Shelf, and they were trying to find a way of doing more adaptations. So they had a line on some different literary agents, and they were looking at what books they could kind of like get a hold of. That one got wrapped up in so many like legal loopholes that it just kind of stalled out. Nobody really pursued it too hard.
That
And
seems
then, like,
apropos for the subject matter, I guess.
yeah, but then like a month or so ago, I see there's a copy of a hardcover graphic novel for 1984 out there.
Oh,
And the first page looks an awful lot
Like something I
like
drew.
the layout you did
Yeah.
for the pitch. So it's like,
Suspicious.
suspicious.
Anyway, somebody got that. So
Yeah.
I got very, very, like, when I say very close, I mean, I had signed the contract and I was 3 days from start putting pencil to paper on Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions, which would have been amazing. And I don't know what happened, but last minute, the estate got cold feet or something, and they just pulled the project entirely. And then the next thing I noticed, Ryan North gets Slaughterhouse 5 graphic novel come out. So I don't know what happened there either.
At
But
least he didn't take any of your pages.
no, he didn't.
he's more honest.
But that Slaughterhouse 5 book, if you haven't checked it out, is phenomenal.
Thinking about
It's
it.
one of those adaptations to comics that did it right. And I love that book. So it's so beautiful.
Yeah, another comic we're reading.
Yeah, that's a
Brenda
good one.
enjoyed.
Yes.
did you see that new documentary about Kurt Vonnegut that's up on it's Hulu, maybe?
I just tried to pull it up last night. And this is a problem, I think, with our Canadian version of Amazon Prime, is that we don't get the same things as you guys get up there or down there. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it's available in Canada right now.
Yeah. So we're like, let's watch Moon Knight instead.
Yes, we started.
Both very good. Both are very good. All right, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah. Just as you're talking about Breakfast of Champions, since you're not doing it, that book has all these little Vonnegut illustrations in it, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
Did you have a plan on how to approach that?
Yeah, I was incorporating some of those drawings onto the pages, even on my pitch. So I was doing a bit more of, I want to say, like a 1950s UPA style, more of an infographic type comic sort of thing, because it's the way he writes is very top down. And so he sees everything all at once. I thought that might be a good visual representation, as well as being able to draw like the circle, or just whatever iconography he has in the book. His way of incorporating that is almost like an infographic to the comic. And I was like, oh, this could be a lot of fun. I was kind of enjoying the way I was handling it. And I mean, again, I know I keep pitching our Patreon, but it's on there. Anybody who wants to check it out can look at the pitches for 1984 and Breakfast of Champion are all on there.
That would be an intimidating book to adapt more than 1984, more than like Slaughterhouse 5. That one would be really scary.
That one would be pretty intense to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have that. Unlike Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I know Hunter Thompson's ghost is haunting me currently because he hates cartoonists. Kurt Vonnegut has a sense of humor, and I think at least he would kind of like give it a pass.
I think he would like it. I just think as a writer, you might be intimidated, or a creator.
Yeah, you can. I mean, part of my fear and loathing was being intimidated to actually take on Hunter's work and adapt something that was so widely read and loved that, I'm not going to do it justice. I'm going to ruin this book, all the things that kind of would talk myself out of like even trying. But what came down to is I love this book, and if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it who may not love it as much as I do. So at least I will say I did my best and try to honor the work, and hope people liked it. And so that would be kind of the way I would try to approach any project of adaptation, is that I have to love it and then want to bring out my best into that.
Thank you.
Heck yeah. And you did do justice on that Hunter Thompson book, very much so. You think he hates cartoonists because that one interview where they were trying to make the Fear and Loathing movie, and he's like, "You're not doing any fucking cartoons" or something like that. Is that why?
Well, that and the way he like always berates Ralph Steadman, Ralph Steadman would get like a lot of attention for the book that he wrote or the articles he wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, firing the whole crew of people that were trying to adapt it because he wanted to animate the wave scene. He's like, "I'm gonna turn this into a fucking Mickey Mouse cartoon."
That's interesting, man, because his work is so synonymous with Ralph's in that way, you know, until it wasn't, I guess.
No, I don't think he ever liked that. They had such a relationship. That was funny. Yeah, such a.
Everyone should watch the.
It's just an antagonistic relationship.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Man, he'd be hard to work for, I think, in many ways.
Yeah, I read the Joke's Over by Ralph Steadman. Is kind of like his time with Hunter Thompson, and that's an interesting perspective on the whole relationship.
Yeah, and in the Breakfast with Hunter documentary by Wayne Ewing too, you see like him destroying that film crew and the director and like just destroying them.
Yeah, that's why I know he's haunting me.
Oh yeah, I mean it could be worse. That's why your Christmas tree catches fire every now and then. Have you seen that video? Oh my god, it's insane. All right, Kev, go ahead, man. Kevin Delgado, welcome back.
Hey, hey, when you're writing like a self-contained story, like a single issue or something like that, do you have like a certain type of writing process? Like for me, in my experience, what I'll do is I'll write the script out. I'll write the kind of the page beats and like key phrases, key elements that need to be like said, but I won't script out all the dialogue. I won't script out all narration, things like that. Is that like, do you work in a similar way, or do you write like the full script, like start to finish?
Yeah, usually, I mean, these days I'll do that. Like you hit the story beats and then you kind of do those like in betweens, I guess, to fill out A to B, in between A to B. Yeah, the story beats are really important to get, so you know those moments in the book, and yeah, you just kind of connect those as you go and you fill out the script. So when I wrote Halls of the Turnip King, it was just like vomiting on paper, like wow, like this, and I edited it as I went. But yeah, for creator-owned stuff, I tend to be a little bit more like that. Like you just kind of go and you don't worry about the page counts as much. You just try to get, I don't know, it's different for every project, but I know when I do licensed stuff, definitely got to plot out those points because you need to know beginning, middle, end. You need to explain it to somebody. You can't change it on the fly, that sort of thing, if you feel the need to. So yeah, the beginning,
Yeah, I find definitely there's a difference. Doing your own work is a lot looser and a lot more organic, and you can change it as you go. But when you gotta like you've been doing pitching, like you've done a lot of regrets go writing recently.
And they always ask, give me the big beats breakdown. Like, give me the beats before you do the script. Like we don't want you to fill in all the details before we know if the big plot points will work. So it's a good way to approach it, honestly, is to make sure the plot works before you fill in the details. Just like when you're sketching, you got to draw your base and your forms before you put all the hair and the clothes and everything.
So when you're working with a publisher, then you have to provide like full script like in advance, or as you get the pages, or like how does that work?
Yeah, you'd start with like a little paragraph blurb, and just to kind of give them a basic idea. And if they like it, they'll be like, okay, go for this. And if they don't like it, they're like, oh, we're thinking maybe something different, like try a couple more things. And so when you get that one sentence or those couple sentence descriptions, you get those okayed. And then you start breaking it down to just your plot points. And then you say, okay, this is kind of like a bigger summary of what would happen in issue 1, what would happen in issue 2 to kind of get the story moving. And then they would say what's working in there, what's not working in there. You would do rewrites and send it to them until they're like, okay, we like the story feels solid now. It feels like everything, all the details make sense in the context. And then, so you wouldn't get to writing the script until you knew that what you had was something usable, because why waste time, in the process? Because I mean, monthlies are such a tight schedule. You can't really figure it out on the fly or anything, or you can't do all that work up front of a full script until you know that it's worth investing that time in.
And the editor has to run it by the licensor, who has to approve it and come back with any notes. Like when I would my first thing with the Powerpuff Girls, I said, here's my pitch, my idea. And the editor said, that's a great story idea. What's your B plot? And I went, I don't, the B plot, this is my plot. This is the only plot I have, like this is a story. And he said, no, you need to work with that a bit more and add some layers to it, some depth to it. You had a very surface layered story. And so a good editor can kind of help you like see what you were missing and go, okay, so I rewrote it, I brainstormed and came back with something that had a lot more layers to it and a lot more interest to it.
Yeah, but it's good you didn't write the full script to begin with, because otherwise you'd be like rewrite that whole script and you're like, well, I took 2 weeks to write the whole issue, like
to throw it out.
To just throw it out. So definitely hit your small beats first, like focus on the story beats before you get to that really heavy lifting.
Jim Zub's very good at this. For if you want to look at a resource online, he gives an awful lot of information away and a lot of examples on his Patreon as well as his online website. You can find tons of resources. But when I get a script from him, like I did with the Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons series, he'd have like the one line hook, what it's about, a little breakdown of what the overall thing is going to be like, and then it would get down into like a issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4. So you kind of get a good sense of what's going to happen in this issue. And you can read basically the whole story in about 2 pages, what's going to happen in this like 80-page graphic novel or whatever.
Yeah, and for the Rick and Morty, he said he put a lot more detail into it. He's like, some I put a lot less. It just depends on the project, but he put a lot more. But yeah, Jim Zub's a great resource. He's written so many comics, and he just, he's a teacher as well. So he's really good at explaining and breaking these things down. Yeah. So he's an excellent resource, and he's not he doesn't try to gatekeep any of this information. He lets people know.
Oh yeah.
What's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, just shares everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that question, Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that so weird. All right, so we're rounding out the day here. I want to hit up Craig or Rick or Adam to see if they have any final things they want to say, or
thanks again, guys. I really appreciate the time. Love the work, as you know, and hopefully I can make it up to TCAF there and say hello.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
For sure. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. It's been 2016, I think, was the last TCAF we did, so it's been a while since we've been there. And it's such a phenomenally fun show. Really, the crowd of comic people that we really kind of gel with. I'll walk out of there with more books than I will at any comic show ever. So I'm going to spend all my profits.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. You want to sell your, but then you're like, well, I want to buy. I want to be on the other side of the table so bad too.
I mean, we make comics, but we're fans of comics. And you see stuff you like, and you're like, I want more of that, and I want to see more people making cool stuff.
When you're there and you get really excited, do people refer to you as being T-caffeinated?
No, I've never heard of that.
No, but I will use that now and claim it as my own.
You can use it. Oh man.
You said one of you guys is going to do Fan Expo this year?
Yeah, I'm thinking of going up if there's still space for me. I emailed Kevin Boyd to see what he would say, and he's always so busy that I think he must have gotten, because he's on his way to Cleveland if he's not already there after just being in Calgary last weekend. So yeah, I'll see what he says. He seemed to be positive, like responding to that idea positively at the show. So I'm sure it's just a matter of connecting with him when he's not busy and making it happen.
As much as I hate that show, if you guys show up there, I'll show up to say hello. God, that's a nightmare.
I've only ever done the Toronto Fan Expo once, and it was before I did ponies and I had anything. I bought the table, but it was the year they oversold tickets, and there was all the crowding issues and like the fire hazards. So I never went back. But I was like, maybe I should.
Was that 2012?
Might have been before that, I think. Maybe 2010, even maybe 2009. It was a long time ago. I was quite little.
I went the last time I went was in 2012, and like, what a fucking nightmare. Like, I even spent the money to buy that ticket where you can just like pass lines and stuff, and there was still lines. You know what I mean? It's like they oversold those. You know what I mean? It was a nightmare. But I saw Kevin Smith do a podcast which was cool. But yeah, like that show is just, there's too much, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it smells like, it smells like virgins and Cheetos in there, and it's fucking horrible, man. Like I just had such a hard time with it.
I think the one time I did that show, and this would have been early 2000s, I had chiaroscuro issues on my table, maybe 2 or 3. So I was just starting out. And I mean, my great memory of that show is I was by a wall. I had a wall in my back, and there was like nobody coming around. And a friend of mine was in town, and he wanted to come see me at my table, right? Like, great, there'll be somebody there that I know, because I didn't know anyone in comics. And he came, he eventually found me. He said, yeah, I couldn't find your table. He said, I asked David Prowse if he knew where your table was. I said, you asked Darth Vader if he knew where I was sitting? Do you know who you were talking to? He's like, yeah. I said, you also know he wouldn't know who I was, right? He goes, yeah, but you didn't acknowledge he was Darth Vader, right? He's like, no. You just made my show. You just made my whole event being here is you asked Darth Vader where I was and didn't acknowledge him.
Yeah, that's funny.
Baller move.
Yeah, I was little when I did my fan expo show, but I mean, it's been so long. I'll give it another chance. And like I said, Kevin Boyd and some of the other people I was chatting to seemed quite positive. You'll do good there. So I'm giving it another chance. And at least I'm on the side of the table. I don't have to deal with the crowds. So.
Yeah, it's just like, for me, it's just like way too like, it's like shoulder to shoulder. And I just did not have fun the last time. It was not, you know what I mean? I did meet, like I said, I got a bunch of stuff from Tony Moore, which I was happy about. And I got to meet John Carpenter, which was cool, like by accident. So that was kind of cool. But the overcrowding is like, I think that's a yearly thing for that thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just so busy. Like I hear people talk about San Diego and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think I'd ever want to be in the middle of that. Like,
I don't know. San Diego, but I did New York once, and I did not really enjoy a big chunk of New York because I found I was too crowded. And stuck at my table, I'm like, I can't see anything here. I don't know why anyone would pay to come here. There's too many people. This is not fun.
The beauty of like that pass that I got was like you could slip in on the Thursday morning and stuff, but even that was just totally insane, and you just kind of felt like you were like, you know, a farm animal being like shepherded along by all these other people, and you didn't have a whole lot of time to, you know.
I love doing small shows because there's just a little bit more, you get to engage with people a lot more, and the other guests as well, and the other art creators. You get to actually walk around and see stuff without being overwhelmed. So like the small shows I always have more fun at those. The big ones, you know, you get drowned out.
Yeah, I'll see how this fan expo goes, and then I'll report back if I'll do it again.
Yeah, maybe I'll brave it. Like I said, if you guys are going to come down for it, I'll brave it. You know,
we'll see a TCAF hopefully at least.
I'm hoping I can work that out. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, for sure. But again, thank you so much. You guys are great.
Thanks for having us on. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it's always a lot of fun to have you both on. And let's close out the show. We'll do a round robin of plugs just to make sure everyone's got what they got going out on Front Street. Dave, Donda, or Rick, if you guys want to come on vid, if you do want to plug something. If not, we'll start up here. Who's in the top of mind? Kevin Delgado, what you got working on, man?
Yeah.
Where can we find your stuff?
I just finished Tough Stuff Goes to Rehab. So I'm waiting on the proof for that. I just put in the order for all the books. Next big show I'll be at is at Heroes Con, and then I'll be at Terrificon the month after. Nice. So Tough Stuff did get picked up for publication, so I really can't like sell it outside of the Kickstarter, but if anyone wants something, just hit me up and I can make that happen.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on right now.
Nice, dude.
Nice.
And it's great shit too. And I got a conference.
I did a show today actually with Joe Rubenstein and Ming Chen from Comic Book.
On their podcast?
No, they came to Buffalo today. We did a convention, like a little small convention this morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Hell yeah. So you and Jerome did a show today. That's awesome.
I've done a show every weekend for like 2 months straight.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good shit, dude. You got to get out there and and beat the boards, if that's a
Yeah.
saying. I don't know if it is, but
I don't know. You just made it a thing.
hell yeah, dude. All right,
Am
let's
I,
head over. Oh, go ahead. Go
Am
ahead.
am I in Wizard too? I wasn't sure. I think I might have like a
Don't
pin up
think-
or something.
Ooh, I don't think so.
Mm.
Oh, did I fumble the ball on
No,
that one?
no.
I have all 420 pages memorized, so I would know.
No, that's cool.
Damn it. Next one, dude.
I'll wait
Next
till
one.
I'll wait till it comes.
All right. Let's head over to Aaron Z. Lee and Bradley and his friends. Did I say that right? I did.
Yeah. Bradley.
No, it's not. It's not Bradley.
No. Oh, well, yeah, I've got Wesley the robot. That's my current
Wesley.
project.
Damn
Yeah.
idiot.
You got the LEY, correct? So that's good. Yeah, I've been working on that. Been working on issue 9 of that, which is the conclusion of this long storyline I've been working on. It'll be
Nice.
out in October. It's going to be 60 pages, so it's going to be like a graphic novel that like ends the end piece. Also have Priestess Pizza, the human son of a living pizza man, must fight evil anchovies with the help of LT Provolone, who's like Judge Dredd with the cheese on his head.
I'm sold.
Hell yeah.
And I did a Creep of the Crop, a little black and white horror zine like EC Comics, and those are on Pens and Pedals is my like business name. Pens and Pedals on Instagram or Pens and Pedals Etsy, and also sell them out of Oswego Comic Shop, which is my local comic shop.
Also, we got that's right. Cool. Dude, thank you. Also featured in Wizard for sure. That one I know.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right, hell yeah. All right, let's head over to Dr. Ben. What up, bro?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know you got something new.
Yeah, I made my Punisher ripoff comic thing that called, I don't know how it's gonna show up in the light. It's called Relaunch, and it is all about a lady. And well, I'll show you the first page because it just pretty much it sets it off. You know, she gets they throw acid on her face, and then it just turns into a revenge flick. And I put my rabbit guy on the back too, Stanley, with a little Frank Miller tribute. And as we've been talking, I've been finishing my the last part of my comic with Next Panel Press, going Dr. Ben. So relaunch thing, I'm putting like the actual stuff about it out on Monday because I do it through Substack. I think Monday is supposed to be their comic day or something. So I don't know. They don't send me notes, so maybe after this they will. That's me.
All right, word. Thank you, Dr. B.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's head over to Ian. You got something new? Also, I know we're working on.
I got so many little things going on right now, just very strange. I got 4 pages in Wizard 2, and I'm doing that thing for 1963 with you, and I'm doing my layouts for the you can't see an iPad on this. Okay, I'm doing my layouts for the next page of the Fury and Spacehawk. Today I did that page 26 project on Facebook where we had one script and we wanted to get a bunch of people to do their version of the script without looking at anyone else's things, and it was just a 1-page comic. And so the concept is you can see how a bunch of different artists tackle the exact same script on their own and see the flavor of each artist come out. And so I got a dozen pages from that, and we're all going to post them later today, and that'll end up filtering its way into the Cartoonist Kayfabe Facebook, I'm sure. But I'm really, I really like my page. I surprised myself, and yeah, I'm surprised with some of the results from people. And as soon as this Fury Spacehawk's done, I got some you're mentioning the manga. What's good manga, right? I've been reading Yoshiharu Tsuge, this Gekiga guy from the 70s who's being translated English now. So motivated to make completely unmarketable comics again. I want to make stuff that appeals to the smallest niche audience, and those people it'll just hit like crazy and they love it, and everyone else will just open it up and be like, you know, they don't get it. But that's my next project is things I can't make profit on. I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
Awesome.
So I'm excited.
Hell yeah. I mean, I still wanted to get one of those pages done. I just didn't find the time. Maybe I'll still work on it and throw it in there. Donda, if you're there, are you wanting to say something?
Oh, what's going on, everybody?
What up,
Thanks for
dude?
coming out, guys. I am working on Paunchy Panda, the new issue of the Escapades of Paunchy Panda, and trying to keep this baby asleep. That's really about it. You know, I'm a new dad, so everything's kind of taking a nice, slow and steady pace for right now. But however, I am on paternity leave now, so hopefully I can get a little things done in the nighttime. So
nice.
Yeah, that's really about that's really about all I got going on right now. Sorry.
That's all you've got going on? That seems like I have a full
New
time.
babies a lot.
Yeah, dude. And the amount of detail on every page you've got
great,
there.
Get some sleep when you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. But you know, I'm just hanging right now. She's asleep, so I would be asleep, but I'm just kicking it with you guys right now.
Nice.
You know.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you so much. Looking forward to that next ish.
Word up.
Dave, I don't know if you got something to plug. If so, holler. If not, we'll go back around to the hosts. Craig, what you got? Oh, what's up, Dave? Yeah, go for it, man.
Hey, yeah, sorry guys.
No way. Welcome.
I do colors and letters on a book called The City.
Nice.
Issue 2 is coming out very soon. I'm actually finishing coloring the last page right now. So both of those were funded through Kickstarter. We should be jumping into issue 3 in the next week or two, and I'm gonna keep pumping those out. I'll be promoting those on the kayfabe group as well, and then I got a couple other little things going on in the back burner that I can't talk about.
Ooh, all right. Nice, dude. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Craigers, what's up, dude? Is that a nickname? I don't know. You're muted. Call you mutie. No,
Yeah,
that's
fucking-
derogatory in the X-Men.
Hopefully that's not a fucking nickname, Eli.
Yeah, all right.
Ghost Agents, I'm just hacking away at that, finishing that up, and then back to the Liefeld stuff and
Oh, nice.
NPP shit, and away we go. You know,
Nice, dude. Oh yeah.
fun
So
stuff.
many
and lots of
burners
tattoos.
and fire. Oh, nice. Yeah. We're gonna get one off you someday, man.
Yeah, eventually.
Yep, this Kirby surfer or something.
Something.
All right, Adam, what about you, dude?
Ghost Agents 2, which is coming out now. Wizard 2, got a 9-page story in there. Working on my pages for 1963. I have 12 pages in there, which is kind of insane and gigantic and overwhelming, but
sweet.
Fun. And of course, my next panel press book, Relic Hunter, which is a homage to John Buscema and D&D art, and Savage sort of Conan and Outlaw comics and all that sort of thing. So exciting. And Etsy, Adam Lemnah on Instagram, Black Dog Comics on Etsy, and Next Panel Press.
Wait, what was it on Etsy?
It's called Black Dog Comics. I'll throw the link up soon, but yeah.
Black Dog Comics, good song, Black Dog.
Oh,
Led Zeppelin. All right. And finally for me, as always, CosmicLionProductions.com. Wizard 2 is so gonna be here so soon. Ghost Agents 2 also was fully funded and is gonna be here soon. And Ghost Agents 3 is basically done. And we're gonna be putting that together, and then as soon as we start shipping issue 2, we'll put up the Kickstarter for issue 3. Rocco's really set on that type of schedule, so we're gonna keep it going. And then the Treasury and Dish, the larger size of the first 3 collected, is gonna be coming after that with pinups and fun stuff from a ton of new peeps. So keep your eyes peeled on CosmicLionProductions.com, and then this will be up on my YouTube, just Eli Schwab on YouTube, as well as my ongoing Grendel reread podcast with Ben Granoff, The Devil in Detail, which is soon to become the official podcast of the Grendel Netflix television series, which we're very excited about. All righty. So with that, I'll say, don't just read more comics, be more comics. Until then.